So I had a few people ask me to do a top 10 A Song of Ice and Fire characters list, which I will eventually do in the future, but that's going to take a long time. So today I'm doing my top 10 POV characters, most of which would be in the top 10 anyway. And for what it's worth, I like my list. In number 10, we have Samwell Tarly, one of the most underrated characters in A Song of Ice and Fire. Oh, by the way, for context, almost done with A Feast for Crows, so use that for this video. I think Sam's chapters in A Storm of Swords are some of the better chapters in A Storm of Swords. And the only reason he isn't higher on this list is his chapters in A Feast for Crows are a little boring. But the events that take place with him beyond the wall are so entertaining, and I just love this character. At the number 9 spot, I have Cersei. I know for a lot of people this is their number 1, and I can kind of understand why. But personally, I just like the other ones a little better than her. But she is very entertaining, very interesting, and her chapters are definitely a joy to sit through in A Feast for Crows. In the 8th spot, I have Tyrion. I feel like some people tend to really love Tyrion chapters or can't stand them. I fall closer to the love, but more in the middle. I think the biggest issue with the Tyrion chapters is there's just too many. Don't get me wrong, it's really interesting to see George R. R. Martin push his linguistic ability to the absolute max, because he said before Tyrion is his favorite character because he can kind of just let it all fly in terms of his writing. But with that being said, specifically in A Clash of Kings, it's like every other chapter is a Tyrion chapter, and it's like, okay, I want to see other stuff too. Still a great POV though, and his final few chapters in A Storm of Swords are phenomenal. In the 7th spot, I have Ned. Only in A Game of Thrones, one of the best character arcs in the entire story. Only reason he's not higher is there isn't more of him. But given the time that we spend with this character, watching him unravel the mystery of King's Landing as we experience it with him, such a genius way of creating this character and opening us up to the A Song of Ice and Fire world. In 6th place, I have Sansa Stark, probably the most misunderstood character in A Song of Ice and Fire, one of the strongest characters, one of the most interesting characters, and I just think a lot of people overhate this character because they genuinely do not understand what George R. R. Martin is trying to say with the character. The only reason she isn't in my top 5 or even top 3 is I just personally find the next 5 a little more enjoyable. But she is top 5 character in terms of writing easily. In 5th place, I have Bran Stark. Oh my god, I know, I put Bran in the top 5. Get over it. And for the life of me, I just genuinely can't understand why more people don't love this character the way I do. Bran's POVs, especially while he's journeying beyond the wall, are so interesting. I remember one chapter specifically when he gets to the Night Fort and has to pass under the wall through a weirwood gate. Bran's chapters are just filled with so much lore, mystery, wonder, and he's endgame. And every time he turns up, I'm just let's go, I'm locked in. In at the number 4 spot, I have Daenerys Targaryen. Book 1 Daenerys is more than enough to put her in a top 5 POV for me. A lot of people really don't like her POVs in A Clash of Kings. I'm not one of those people. I think they're fine. I don't think they're the best in the whole series, but her POVs in the House of the Undying are some of the best in the whole series. Now, I will say, I don't think every Daenerys chapter is an absolute 10 out of 10, but the 10 out of 10s you have for Daenerys are some of the best chapters in the entire book series. For example, her final chapter in Book 1 of Game of Thrones is a top 3 chapter in the series for me. It just is. It's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal character. She deserves to be up here. Coming in at the 3rd spot, I have Catelyn Stark. George R. R. Martin's best written character in terms of arc from start to finish, in terms of her life. Getting to see Robb's life through her eyes and getting to experience everything she experiences is just a joy. I think she's one of the more complex characters. She's very misunderstood. She has a lot of really interesting parallels, a lot of great symbolism, just a phenomenal character overall. But what really sets her apart from a lot of other people is the Lady Stoneheart reveal. I think it just adds another level of complexity to the character that I didn't know I needed, and she's just great. In the number 2 spot, I have Jaime Lannister. I think this is George R. R. Martin's most impressive character in terms of how fast he becomes so great. Jaime's chapters are just electric for me. There's something about them, especially in A Storm of Swords, where it feels like every single time you're interacting with him, you can literally see him growing and changing as an individual. And this makes his chapters so enthralling, because he's this character you really don't like. You just really don't like this character at all when you first meet him. But then slowly but surely, as you come to understand him and you come to grasp his side of the story. You understand that he's made a lot of mistakes and he's not a good person, but you can sympathize and root for someone trying to become better. And that is something that really resonates with me, which is why he's this high. But in the number one spot, I have Jon Snow. I've said many times this is my favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire, with the number one reason being he's the character I feel I relate to the most, the character I understand the most emotionally. I think his arc of thinking he has nothing, realizing he had it all, and trying to be a better person even though he's not a bad person, coming to terms with his identity crisis, coming to terms with the decisions he wants to make growing into a man. Jon Snow's chapters, every time I see a Jon POV, I just know I'm in for such a treat and I can't stop reading. But yeah, that's my top 10. Let me know what you think. Do you disagree? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And let me know what your top 10 is. Peace.